Watch, Special Counsel Mueller busted in corrupt lie that got people killed. The more information that comes out about Robert Mueller, the more the American people see that he is far from an independent and unbiased investigator. In February 2003, then FBI Director Robert Mueller testified before Congress that Baghdad had refused to dismantle its WMD program. In short, Mueller helped to push the U.S. into an unnecessary war with Iraq. If nothing else, Robert Mueller is the perfect example of the cozy relationship between so-called conservatives and their Democratic peers in Washington, D.C. While serving the Bush administration, Mueller not only lent his voice to the WMD lie, but in 2002, Mueller also instructed the FBI to illegal spy on certain anti-war protests and pacifist organizations. Mueller then lied to Congress about his participation in this operation in 2006 via USA Politics Today. Roger Stone of InfoWars has long maintained that Robert Mueller and Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein have been hired for the explicit purpose of undermining the Trump administration and bringing the Democrats back into power in Congress in 2018. Stone also views Mueller as Rosenstein as errand boys for the neoconservatives in Washington who have long despised President Trump, his agenda, and his foreign policy via Washington Examiner. It is also telling that Mueller decided to staff his investigative body with many well-known donors to the Democratic Party. As many as half of Mueller's team have donated over $1,000 to Democrats like Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. One investigator, Jeannie Rhee, not only donated $5,400 to Clinton in 2016 campaign, but also provided her legal services to the Clinton Foundation via the Hill. It seems that Mueller has received widespread adulation in the mainstream media thanks to his warm relationships with Democrats and anti-Trump Republicans. This man is the furthest thing from independent. Mueller's praise and his support for the Democrats is part of a wider rehabilitation of Bush-era officials and pundits by the media. A decade ago, people like Max Boot, William Kristol, Mueller, and Bush himself were considered war criminals by the left. Now they are regularly lionized as good Republicans who are helping to fight against President Trump via Medium. Is it at all surprising that many of these former Bush supporters threw their weight behind Clinton instead of Trump in 2016? Robert Mueller is nothing but another swamp creature who is in bed with a legion of fellow swamp people. His job is to undermine a democratically elected executive based on false charges. Well, the writing of this article is not as good as this little video clip here. Let's take a listen.
Since he was appointed by the Justice Department on May 17th as special counsel overseeing the investigation into alleged Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election, former FBI Director Robert Mueller has received widespread adulation from the political and media class. Most recently, a June 14th CNN article declared that Mueller had been the recipient of, quote, near universal praise. And it's true that the headlines have been effusive. Media coverage has gloried in Mueller's purported reputation for independence and sterling bipartisan credentials. Recent history, however, suggests that whenever the political and media class appears united in praise for anything, there's reason for concern. Maybe it's lost to history now, but in February 2003, Mueller helped George W. Bush and Dick Cheney make the case for war in Iraq.
As Director Tennant has pointed out, Secretary Powell presented evidence last week that Baghdad has failed to disarm its weapons of mass destruction and willfully attempting to evade and deceive the international community. Our particular concern is that Saddam Hussein may supply terrorists with biological, chemical, or radiological material.
In the written testimony from that day, still available on the FBI's website, Mueller went significantly further, giving credence to the most incendiary talking points that Bush and Cheney used to sell the invasion. Baghdad has the capability and, we presume, the will to use biological, chemical, or radiological weapons against U.S. domestic targets, Mueller argued. He also warned that Saddam Hussein's regime could align with al-Qaeda to carry out terrorist attacks in the United States. Those were the most salient core tenets of the Bush-Cheney case for war in Iraq, and there Mueller is, repeating them and giving them the imprimatur of the FBI, which much of the public viewed as a valiant and impartial law enforcement institution rather than a political organization doing PR for the administration. The Iraq War was one of the most cataclysmic actions that the United States government has ever undertaken, and yet so many who were most directly implicated in the failure, including Mueller, never suffered any penalty. On the contrary, they've been touted as heroes, and their colossal failings are ignored. How Mueller carries out the Russia investigation remains to be seen, but likewise, it's always very telling to observe who deserves reputational rehabilitation in the eyes of the political class, and what's a career ender.
Well, there you have it for Mueller. He's a criminal, and he was from the Bush administration. There you have it, a criminal, a warmonger. And he's against President Trump in the hardest of ways. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching.